Chapter 1. The night's sky was cold and uninviting. Just a dull gray gunmetal tone that was rapidly fading to pure black. A whipping wind bit hard on the exposed flesh of Safi Kweli. The appearance of his frost-bitten fingers made the act more of a necessity. He blew into his cold hands as he weaved among the sparse human traffic at a brisk clip. His thoughts were erratic, bouncing here and there with no clear discernible pattern. The imprisoned and highly guarded city sector only had scant lighting coming from the exceedingly rare and unmolested streetlights. Ducking into a darkened doorway, Kweli's senses sharpened further, if that was at all possible. He was triggered. A few brief moments passed, and the faint rumble of the patrol's armor Bradley became audible to human ears. The sweeping bright search and destroy lights performed their duty, attempting to search every nook and cranny as it ambled by slowly. Kweli would have held his breath if he thought that might have helped. Lord knows the last thing he needed was a scuffle with Annex's jump-out boys. After what seemed like a frozen eternity, the law enforcement vehicle rounded the corner. Kweli's deep breath misted on the night's chilled air. In all black garments, he was all but another shadow. Only he was a moving one. The brief scarlet glow of his eyes, his red eyes, read the time on his matte black G-Shock watch.
Shit,
he mumbled under his breath to himself. Damn, he was really pushing it close. He could only ill afford to be late tonight. Emergency meetings with the human contingents was of the utmost importance. Looking up at the rooftop of the building he was standing beside, he was actually aware of the heavy risk he'd be taking up there, not to mention the exposure. Time was of the essence, and unfortunately, she had no patience and waited for no man. Not being the passive type, Kweli's decision was finalized in nanoseconds. Forcefully suppressing the urges to use his powers, Kweli coiled and sprang to the building top in a single hop, landing soundlessly. Everything from here on out solely depended on his nature, strength, and agility. The use of any mystic powers always led to detection. Scanning the immediate area, Kweli was satisfied he was alone. He slung his vision out as far as he could, just before he became a blur of motion. The speed in which he moved was beyond human detection without special op equipment. Having loosed all the buttons on the black butter leather trench coat he wore, it trailed behind him like a superhero's cape. From rooftop to rooftop, he moved his eyes in a never-ending scan. His scan was most concerned with watching for drones more than anything. Drones could instantly relay his location and deploy attack sequences. Unnecessary shit that would definitely make him late, if not dead, he chuckled to himself fatalistically. Abruptly, he dropped from the rooftop. The moment his feet made contact with the asphalt, he pitched himself into a tumbling roll, stopping himself under one of the many abandoned automobiles lining the street. Slightly winded, he willed his pulse to slow to almost nil, blinking sweat from his eyes. Noiselessly, the drone glided into view. Cutting through the night sky like a shark through water, it used no light. The blacked-out metal alloy used to build it made it somewhat difficult to detect. The drone was different from manual patrols. Where the patrols used searchlights and assault rifles, the drones used thermal imaging, motion detectors, and lasers. The drone was turning in his direction.
shit.
Kweli cursed for the second time that evening, and hell, the night was still young. Mentally directing his conscious energies, he willed his body temperature to drop and condense at the center of his core. It was his only slim chance at avoiding detection. His thermal imaging appeared on the drone's radar as a normal-sized dog. Releasing his breath, he wouldn't risk the roof again. 15 minutes later, he stopped at the mouth of a dark alley. Standing unnaturally still, He searched for the deadly sentries he knew was lurking among the other shadows. He smiled when his trained eye could not spot them. Critically observing his surroundings, Kweli noted the best escape routes and trap-off spots. Then, as satisfied as he was going to get, he moved out into the open, his hackles raised from being held in the crosshairs of the human people's militia. The grim set of his face spoke volumes. The muted green flash confirmed his clearance to enter the building. Before entering the dilapidated building, Kweli mumbled,
Retreat, hell.
Surveying the hallways was depressing, as it was in various stages of decay. A decomposing trash stench mingled disgustingly with rotting bodies of numerous rodents and other refuse. Following the low voices, he entered into the meeting area, which comprised of only 8 others. The elite of the elite.
And there goes the golden boy, finally.
Taunted Quiet Money.
Almost thought you would be too busy to make it, tripping over your feet and all.
Kweli just snorted with a snide smirk to convey his thoughts about the comment. Lucky Left stood off to the side. Moomit, Blaze, Power Up, and Immortal Twin stood in a group. Everyone was focused on Rafiki, the human's core connect. Rafiki's glance met Kweli's eyes with a slight nod of acknowledgement. Then Rafiki began to talk as he handed out recon images.
What I have to say is ugly. I mean real ugly.
Rafiki continued. Kweli took another deep breath and then cursed again, but this time silently.
As your group is aware, I couldn't call upon y'all if it was not a necessity.
Rafiki stated as he began his report. The corner of Rafiki's lips twitched in a ghost echo of a smile. That was enough to notify Kweli that Rafiki was up to his old Jedi mind bullshit again. Giving in, Kweli accepted that his night was totally shot to shit.